My name is Kavan Shah and I am CEO at RoseWood Furniture. We are a family business established 26 years ago. We have about 160 staff and a turnover of nearly $5 million. And we're based out of Nairobi, where we have both our showroom and factory facility. And we specialize in office furniture for the Kenyan market. And we export into the region. So Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, Malawi, South Sudan, Somalia sometimes. So we have several areas. We worked with the Kaizen Institute before when my dad was running the business, and he brought in the Kaizen people for continuous improvement, and he did that probably 10 years ago. They were very data driven. They came up for a week, then they traveled back to India for 4 weeks, and they came up again for a week. And there was a lot of secret knowledge that they thought I had, or were explaining stuff to me that I couldn't do. So I was looking for a local resource with international experience who could spend 13, 14 weeks with us, week after week after week after week. Because our experience with all these experts is they fly in and out, and the Indian consultants out of India, the mentality is a little bit different. They come from a very fast-paced environment to Kenya and expect everything to move as quickly, and it's a bit less democratic, and the problem was it never quite stuck. So eventually one of the family members was at a Kenya Association of Manufacturers event. Lean and Six Sigma were presented, and so he came back and said, we met someone who can probably help improve your operations. And this is what they do, and they've moved in from the UK, and this is what they're offering. So that's where we began the conversation. The theory of Kaizen isn't lost to me. I'd done an operations management course at university. I understand Kaizen and continuous improvement or lack of waste. But to be in the factory and have an outsider who's an expert teach you in the factory about improvements that open your eyes is a different concept, I think. So my biggest learning now as CEO of a Kenyan business is the most useful learnings are those you can apply easily in front of you to a daily scenario. Theoretical learnings are much more difficult to absorb. The reason I even got into all this, we didn't get there, was I took over a business that had legacy issues, and people say legacy issues. In a family business, you get true legacy issues of things have always been done a certain way for 23 years. And to come in and say that this isn't working and not know the answer as to what is going to work was a strange place. To not be happy with the status quo, but not have an answer on the way forward was a strange place to be. But I knew that we didn't have visibility into our operations. I knew that we didn't have full control into our operations. I knew that we didn't have efficiency in our operations, but I couldn't prove any of that, and I didn't have the skills to just improve those things. I think it was for me to convince the board that I didn't know enough and that I needed somebody else to. And in a family business, typically the board or the traditional MDs usually feel like they know the answer to everything, and to admit not knowing and to say, listen, thank you for your input as the board, because they had lots of ideas on how we could improve stuff, but can we please bring in an expert who can do it from start to finish? The improvements seem so obvious and so within reach that it always sounds hard to spend on an expert to come in and tell you what you already know or what you can see as the low-hanging fruit. And it's a common misconception that we can always fix our own problems. So I think at first it was how much can someone from the UK really know about our Kenyan furniture business? We know so much and we're always improving. And so that was the big battle we had. This is my second year in charge, so we're working our way through different experts in different fields. But I think losing money is always the worst case scenario, is more losing money, but actually it would be losing time, right? Spending 6 months with someone who hasn't done anything, you've just lost 6 months. So I think time would be, because we were under stress and operations was a worry, I think time was critical. And I think we launched into this within 2 weeks. And the beauty of family business is the agile nature of decisions. We can approve. Once we approve, we roll out. Shiny new objects tend to be the most dangerous in business, right? And lean is a shiny new object where people input all sorts of stuff going on, and then in 6 months you just find skeletons everywhere. So the first knowledge was how to run a project, which is a strange thing to learn, but people on this side of the world don't know how to run projects. People like myself learned from Delta Blade just how to plan a project firstly. That's starting. The second is then understanding all the cogs of that project and doing it in baby steps. So the knowledge wasn't too much too fast. Rather than being there every day for 4 weeks, it was once a week for 4 months. And we found that mix of having some knowledge, applying it for 5 days, reviewing it in the 6th day, and then learning new knowledge on the 7th day was a much better loop in a very busy business environment. The last bit was the simplicity through which the learning was done, right? Six Sigma scares a lot of people because people don't even know what Six and Sigma mean in the first place. And lean sounds much easier to understand. It means, organization that has less and less and less waste. And lean is a common word, but Six Sigma sounds really scary and sounds like what companies in America have when they have super robots and stuff. So I think the understanding that actually we're not striving for Six Sigma maybe, but the knowledge was, let's start with the basics. Let's start with process mapping, value stream mapping, understanding waste, understanding timings, value chains, and the basic concept of, right? And the idea of process mapping, of what's required, what the process looks like, what the decision points are, what the critical decisions are, and how options, feedback loops. And it was the first time it clarified to me how badly we had planned our processes, and how with a little bit of foresight and engineering, you could improve the process dramatically without doing too much. We're not asking for revolution, right? It's more evolution, but the gains are so large that it feels revolutionary. So I think that was the first time when I was looking at the board and everything was drawn out and it was like, oh, okay, this is really messy. How come we didn't just draw a straight line through this instead? So I think there was a lot of learning on the building of a system, understanding its moving parts in our manufacturing system, understanding the bottlenecks, the issues, the critical success issues or the critical failure issues, and then fixing each one incrementally rather than trying to overhaul the whole system either. So I think change management is the most elusive of concepts. You can learn lean, you can learn accounting, you can learn sales. Nobody teaches a CEO about change management. But my learning so far on change management is done by very minute behavioral changes in the organization that all add up to a massive change in the organization. And what lean has taught me is change management, firstly, is about making sure every process we have is as good as it can be, whether it's the quality of the output or the efficiency of the process itself. If we apply that throughout the organization, if each process is optimized to the best of its abilities, the change we're going for is professionalism and great service. That's the change we want, and the ownership in each person to deliver that. What we did here in our factory is, as soon as we put the measurements out there and we put the information to everyone, just people knowing where the business was headed and what goals we wanted, people automatically came up with their own ideas on how to improve things. And it was much easier to change when they wanted to improve things rather than when I imposed improvement on them. So I think change management is first small improvements and second ownership by the people on the ground to make those improvements. Change management sounds very coordinated and choreographed. It's really just saying, hey guys, we're going for this. This is where we are. What do you think we need to get here? And people telling you their ideas. And as soon as they feel valued and useful, I think the change occurs. The change management is a result, not a process. So the first thing that's worked is that we have measurements of most processes. Just by having measurements, we have improvements. The second was control. Processes happened on their own. They happened in different ways every day. We were even afraid that every day we were using totally different ways to make the same product, and our consistency wasn't there. There was no system at hand. So now we have almost recipes and systems to do certain processes. So I think control over processes and outcomes has become better. And the third was efficiency. So we knew we had probably too many people. We knew that roughly on the back of a napkin, we have enough work for 6 hours a day, but everyone seems to be so busy working 8 hours a day. So how is that working? We couldn't reconcile those differences. And because we have the data now, and we have the systems, and we know what the actual targets should be, we were able to reduce our workforce, and our output hasn't changed, our efficiency's gone up, and already the company is healthier and better for it. We follow up every delivery with a call, and on average, almost every customer says that they're very likely to recommend us at the moment. We use Net Promoter Score as a quick litmus test of how the delivery went, and typically when a customer says they're very likely to recommend us, it makes us feel that they pretty much had a good enough experience to suggest that they're going to refer us to someone else. We are also finding that they no longer have complaints on quality or speed. We give them a promised delivery date, we meet that date, and everything usually goes really well on that date because we're 95% on time in full. The biggest measurement tool that we use, a very simple number, is the on-time, in-full, error-free delivery metric. That first off, knowing that deliveries consist of being on time, in full, and error-free is a super interesting criteria. If you don't fulfill all three, you don't succeed in that delivery. And any of those three things can annoy a customer. So we need all three conditions to be fulfilled with each delivery. By measuring those three conditions, by measuring our deliveries, over the last year, we're now down to about 2.5 days per delivery from 7, and we are up to about 95% deliveries on time, in full, error free, from about 72% about a year ago. But the best feedback is from our sales team. We used to spend every Friday afternoon for an hour talking to our sales team about what could be better every week and what went well. And they pretty much just complain about how ops is screwing up every week. And now they don't. They have no issues with ops. Lean and Six Sigma in the factory has improved operations to such a level that salespeople always felt like ops was screwing them over. They were too late, products were not on time, not in full, quality wasn't there, and now the sales team have really good trust in ops that when we submit an order, things are going out quickly, they're going out on time, they're going out really good quality, so the sales team feel backed up. So the customers now obviously feel that, but the sales team are really happy that the operations team is backing up their promises and their delivery dates, and they're able to win more orders and sneak orders through the competitors now because we are faster, because we have better products. A big part of my goal as CEO is to try and understand the competitive landscape. And the competitive landscape in office furniture consists of a lot of players being importers of office furniture, typically from Asia, meaning that they get fairly consistent product quality and product specifications from their suppliers in China, Malaysia, Korea. We have been competing with them as local manufacturers of desking. So we buy all the raw materials here. We use Kenyan labor and Kenyan manufacturing to deliver a similar product. Over the last few years, the raw materials have almost matched up to the Asian standard, but the Kenyan processes have needed to improve, and that's where we've come in to try and improve them. The problem with our competitors, the problem for us with our competitors, is that they can deliver from their warehouse to a client in a day. If it's not in stock, it takes 12 weeks, but if it is in stock, it happens in a day. So their big secret is about forecasting correctly. Our goal, because we're local manufacturers, we can deliver to you huge projects, which they might not have in stock, in a week or two. But the simple stuff, they can do in a day, we take 2 or 3 or 4, we used to take 7 days. So we have two different competitive landscapes. On the bigger projects, we're much better by being local. But on the smaller projects, we lose so often because we never had the speed. So we needed the short-term speed to win the bread and butter projects, and the long-term quality to win the bigger projects as well, where we offer speed, but sometimes they want fancier stuff, so we needed to offer better quality. So speed and quality were the goals when I took over. And what Lean has done for us is understand that manufacturing and improving manufacturing by reducing waste improves speed and improves quality. So now we're able to compete with them on the smaller projects where we're super fast, and on the larger projects where our quality is also much better. Yeah, so I think, finding the root cause for me with Delta Blade was a mixture of, one, looking wide enough and far enough, because they were with us for 14 weeks or so, and it was going through the organization and then scanning where all the issues lay, and then we focused upon one, which was the making of a set of drawers. And it's strange that the making of a set of drawers could represent the entire organization's problems in manufacturing, because it was the most complex item, it was the slowest item, and it needed the most effort. And by deciding on that, we started exploring just how to make that one item, and we learned that there are several issues with all the rest of the manufacturing process to do with that item that we came upon and then fixed. So I think it was important to narrow down on one thing, fix that, not try and scope too much, and I think that's what they did well with us. And beyond that, we realized that even fixing that item seems to not solve the problem 6 weeks or 7 weeks down the road. And Delta Blade and us were open enough to say, hey, let's brainstorm, review, understand, and rejig the process a little bit. And we put our heads together in a room for a day with my team and their team, and we said, hey, where else is the problem coming? We seem to have really focused on this one area, but it's not solving everything. And all of a sudden, a whole new area of focus came into light, which was about production planning and how production planning was so critical. An area we thought was going pretty well. Some light was shed on that, and I think the agility of our team and Delta Blade to move and also have a concurrent project on production planning thereafter allowed us to have a dual-pronged focus on, one, the manufacturing process, and two, the planning process. And so I think the goal was to root cause analyze, is to be open every week, that they're not forcing down us one plan, one methodology. This is, the set of drawers is causing you all the problems. It's them learning and them admitting, actually, yes, that's important, but also we've realized something else, so let's move here. And that's how we run our businesses, our family businesses here. We get problems every day. We can't hammer down one solution. New information comes to light, we got to be agile enough, and we hope our experts along the way with us are also agile and open to that sort of, change. I think for anyone else, and I've met a few people who are really interested in overhauling their operations because they've also taken over new businesses, whether family businesses or otherwise, and they have legacy issues in operations. I think there's a big fear of changing systems or changing things that have more or less worked and delivered decent profits and growth. So the bravery to change and overhaul required is about maybe understanding more. You see, if people don't know, people like myself didn't know how operations could be that much better until I learned about Lean and Six Sigma, and I worked with Delta Blade, and I almost did a course myself on it with them. because it wasn't me and them telling everybody else, we know everything, you know nothing. It was, please tell me as well what I don't know. And that not knowing what you don't know part of life for a CEO is a very scary place. So my advice to people who want to change their operations is to be willing to test out other people, hire experts, hire other consultants who know what they're doing, and give them a chance to change. And change is not miraculous and in 1 week or 2 weeks. Similar to going to the gym, you're not going to be healthier or lose weight. You've got to put in the hard yards and the time and effort, but these people will give you something in return for that, and they will bring gems of knowledge or organizational systems that really do impact your organization. So I think that's, for me, the biggest change is now I'm open to new ideas. And I'm understanding that new ideas don't just get implemented overnight, and they need a lot of effort from me to push them through, but more from everybody else to accept them and pull them. You know, our team is now more open to ideas. We have learning lunches and learning dinners, and every day we do a continuous improvement conversation on any one thing that went wrong yesterday, and use the tools from Lean to do root cause analysis. Even if, for example, yesterday we ran out of printing paper, and we did a root cause analysis this morning on it, and it was important enough that we used the methodology from Lean and Six Sigma, which is like developed by all these massive companies, on why did we run out of printing paper and how do we not run out of it again. So I think the bigger goal is to change the mindset of the organization into wanting to improve stuff and taking the bravery to try and change it.